Hey folks, well welcome there. Welcome back to Chris Wyatt Africa on the Indaba Africa channel. Glad to see everybody here. Today's special feature with my guest, Herman Roos, a tobacco farmer from Northwest Province in South Africa. Herman recently did a short video in which he implored President Cyril Ramaphosa to lift the tobacco ban, the nonsensical tobacco ban, which is impacting the South African tobacco market, commercial tobacco growers, as well as small-scale growers who are suffering immensely as a consequence of the government's lockdown and its ban on tobacco products in South Africa. So welcome everybody tuning into this chat. I'll get Herman in here in just a minute, but a little bit of housekeeping I'd like to do very quickly is I'd like to say hello to everybody, but also make a point about a few things that are taking place. Number one, there's another subscription from Andre Els. Thank you so much for becoming a subscriber. Listen, folks, so first off, out of respect, I'll remove my hat for this. I have to announce the sad news, the tragic news, the passing of Republican Tea Party stalwart Herman Cain. Herman Cain has passed away a short while ago. Herman Cain was a presidential candidate for the Republican Party, a Tea Party activist, a very successful businessman. He passes away at the age of 74 after having sadly contracted COVID-19, the Wuhan coronavirus, during a trip to Oklahoma for that rally that the president held. Reported that's where he got it from. He's now passed away at the age of 74. He was an icon for Tea Party activists and stalwarts like myself, who really believed in his message of hope for America and lower taxes and responsible government and people making and doing for themselves. Herman Cain has passed away at the age of 74, ladies and gentlemen, and just take my hat off for a moment to recognize that. Anyway, so let's get back to the what's going on. I did a tribute video on that, which a couple of trolls have already disliked and said some vile things about. So be gone with the trolls, be gone. But yeah, I also did a video this morning about the spat of farm murders taking place in South Africa, which I titled, not original, I stole the line from one Cyril Ramaphosa, and I called my video, "There Are No Farm Murders in South Africa." Ladies and gentlemen, that video is doing very well. Thank you so much for that. If you've watched it already, that video in such a short period of time, not even 2 hours, it's an hour and a half it's been posted, and that thing is meteoric. It's already at 1,956 views. Thank you so much for that. Really awesome. I hope you find the video useful, and hopefully the message gets out about what's going on. So thank you so much for that. Right. And then finally, the last thing I'd like to announce here on the stream very quickly before I bring Herman in is that thank you so much. I did a video thanking everyone. We have crossed the Rubicon. Now, we've crossed the threshold of 6,000 subscribers, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Chris Wyatt Africa. Went over 6,000 subscribers about an hour ago and maybe 45 minutes ago. And since then, the pace has picked up. I think it's because of the new video that I just released on the farm murders. But now we're beyond 6,000, 6,028, I think it is at the moment. So thank you. Thank you very much. Kea leboa, buy a donkey. Or buy a donkey if you can't find a horse. Anyway, folks, with that, I'm going to bring Herman Roos into the conversation, and we're going to talk about the tobacco industry in South Africa and also some events that unfolded on his farm in the last 24 hours. And we'll get you caught up. For those who caught him on Joe Emilio yesterday, there's actually some different stuff taking place today on the stream. So here we go. All right, let me get Herman back in here. Just a second. Wrong one. I got to get this back here. Sorry. Okay, so let me invite him back in. And here we go. Herman Roos will be joining me here in just a moment. All right. Sometimes Zoom doesn't cooperate in the way you want it to. There we go. Herman's coming up. Excellent. All right. He'll be joining us in just a moment. There he is, Herman Roos. Welcome, Herman.
Hello. Hello, Chris, and hello, everybody. How are you this evening?
I'm older, which beats the alternative.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So how are you and what's going on?
Chris, I have to, first of all, please, guys, excuse me tonight. If I look tired, yes, I am. I was out last night, as I said to you earlier, till about 12:30. We were going after guys who slaughtered our bull. So my voice, as you can hear, isn't working because I was constantly talking on the two-way radio to communicate with the people in our area, the community watch guys. So, and I was running behind the dog. So, yeah, I think I've lost a bit of my voice last night. So, please, guys, excuse me if I sound funny and look a bit dozy, because I am.
No, that's unfortunate. So they slaughtered your bull.
Yeah.
Was this malicious, or were they doing it for the meat? Were they hungry? Or
I
are they
would
just thieves? Do you know?
Chris, the way that was done last night, these are typically guys who come in, they work either for syndicate, or they come in, they know what they did it fast. We picked up on the camera around 6 o'clock. They went past, and we picked it up. The footage came through around past 7. And by the time we were up in the bush around 8 o'clock, they have already did slaughter half of the cow, of the bull. So this was done to sell the meat. It was done meticulously well. It was well planned. No, this isn't your typical average criminal. These are the guys that usually go out and do some damage and to sell.
Yeah, no, that's disturbing, and I'm going to guess
Nice.
was this bull for for inseminating your stock
Yeah,
or
it
okay.
is. My dad bought this bull about 2 years ago. Yeah, that was our stock bull. Unfortunately, yes.
That's really unfortunate. So I'm not sure how the industry works. I'm familiar with the industrialized industry on this side, where
Mhm.
typically you pay a service and someone comes in and inseminates a whole bunch at one time, and oftentimes people don't even have their own bull. They're paying for the semen from a top quality stock from
Yeah.
elsewhere. Is that a function that's possible in South Africa, or are
Yeah,
you
it's
just
still
stuck?
no. We still there's a lot of farmers who do it that way. But in this instance, it's all natural.
Yeah.
He gets to do his own stuff. Look, we don't farm cattle on our farm. We don't farm cattle for the market as such. We do it mostly for house use on the farm, and also for our own milking purposes, because we have fresh farm our own milk that we milk every morning, and it's also for our own meat consumption and for everybody on the farm. So that's why we have the cattle on the farm.
Now, hang on a second here, because we are separated by a common language. You do speak
Mm,
English, but it's South African English, and it's not your first
yeah,
language. So
yeah.
let me make sure I understand this correctly. You said natural.
Mm.
So do you mean by that when the bull is feeling randy, he does his business?
No, basically when the cow goes on heat, he will become randy, and then he does his natural duty.
Ah, okay. Answering the call of the wild, I take it. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So when he's
We
feeling randy, okay, got it.
Yeah,
So let me just,
basically
yeah,
yes.
basically, yeah. So let me just say very quickly, I see some new faces in the audience, or new taglines and new usernames there, but
Yeah.
and also a familiar face. So hello to Boston Tea Party. I don't recall seeing you before, and maybe you've been watching, but just not in the chat. And then also a special shout out to Eureka Oosthuizen, who I haven't seen in a while on here. Welcome back, Eureka. Good to see you. I'm glad that you're there. I'm happy to see you back on the channel. Hopefully things are going well with you. And to everyone else on the channel, hello. So, Herman, you did this video recently, which you kindly allowed me to use that in
Yeah,
a video that I made on the tobacco industry.
yeah,
You did this video. It was about 36 seconds, and in it,
yeah,
I saw a bunch of your farm workers behind you tending
yeah.
to, it looks like, the new crop of tobacco that's out
Yes,
there. And so what
yes.
was the video about? Tell people about the video so we have an understanding.
So okay, so basically, my video went as a message to President Cyril Ramaphosa, asking him to lift the ban, and to show the workers on the farm. Those are the people that are going to be affected by this. Those people who are sitting behind me will be the first in the line to be directly losing their jobs. And my message was clear: lift the ban and give these people hope, because they know. I don't hide anything from my workers. I tell them, guys, this is the situation. This is where we are now. And it's also affecting my workers as much as it's affecting me psychologically. They have a fear. Will they have a job next month? What do they have to do? They cannot plan ahead like me and you, knowing if a company is going down. They cannot start applying for a new job. The guys must realize this. These are unskilled labor in the world. These guys know farm working. So if he loses his job tomorrow, he will need to literally and physically walk to the next farm and continue to walk between farms to ask for a job. And that's what the idiots out there don't understand. He doesn't have a CV. Most of them are illiterate. All right. understand, even if they have a form of literacy, it is basic to get around. Some of them can only write their names, and that's as far as their literacy goes. That is because of education system that failed them. All right. And if these guys lose their jobs, who's going to prepare a CV for them? Even if I prepare a CV for him, that's not going to guarantee him a job, because the next farmer will be looking for certain aspects, right? And with the shrinking in the industry and the agricultural industry in South Africa, overall, farmers are now going to hold on to their permanent staff more than ever, because they don't want to lose their best workers. So they'll try and keep them, and there will be more temporary staff out in the field. Now, these people that are skilled in their particular job will have to go and literally beg for scraps. Maybe get an odd temp job for 2 days here, earning roughly around 300 Rand for the 2 days. All right. Can be less. Some guys work only 6-7 hours, so he'll get around 100 Rand a day. So it depends on the hours worked. All right. And that's the thing that people should start realizing.
Yeah, so
and that's what my video was about.
No, and that was brilliant. And in that short video, you were succinct and to the point, but not really a chance to explain it fully like you just had here.
Yeah.
But listen, actually, Herman, I can't let you get away with that. I've got to call you out here. I mean, this is about truth and honesty. So, I mean, listen, I saw your video and I saw the farm workers. And I mean, honestly, I mean, coming from your position of white privilege and all those white Afrikaans speaking people working for you on the farm there, I mean, don't you feel that it's inappropriate to be complaining about things that the National Coronavirus Command Council, the decisions they're making? I mean, seriously, I mean, all these white people working for you, why should we care about them? Aren't they guilty of apartheid? Shouldn't they go hungry?
What white people are? What white people are working for me? Chris,
that's my point,
you actually,
Herman.
I know we're yanking the chain here, and it's good. But also, you're touching on a very serious note, Chris.
Yes, I
am. Most of these families that's working on our farm has grown up. I've grown up with a lot of them. A lot of them were friends with me. We were playing together as kids. One of my foremen now actually we grew up like brothers. We were playing together. We were naughty together. And for most of these families, I'm a child to them. And sometimes that's difficult. Now I'm in a position where I'm actually the boss, but they still see me as the child that grew up in front of them. And sometimes that's a bit difficult. And that's something people should understand. This isn't, when you start working with farm workers, it isn't like in towns and in cities where the guy comes in from the street and he does your garden for 2 days and maybe he works for you for 6 months and then he's off and it's a new guy. All the farms in South Africa have their permanent families that came from generations. There has been a family on this farm that's now been working for 3 generations for us on this farm. And I said it to Linnell the other day, to look at that and to look at these people and realize how long they have been part and parcel of building this farm. From where my father started, when he bought this farm after our original farm was expropriated.
Oh, wait a second. Herman, I'm sorry. Did you say your farm was expropriated? What, by the National Party under apartheid?
Yes.
No. Only black people had their land taken. Only coloreds had their land taken.
No.
Oh,
back in the 1970s, the farm Roy Koppies. Was all the farms there's a lot of farms that was expropriated with compensation, not without, with compensation, but you didn't have a choice because they were building a dam. So they came to the guys and said, here's your money, here's your expropriation. That happened, guys. Expropriation happened where the government needed to build something for the better, and the Roy Koppies Dam was built on my grandmother's farm. So my dad bought this farm, and those families that worked on that farm for my grandmother came with my dad to this farm. So yes, expropriation was part of the old government.
Well, and
It is in the
in
news.
fact, Herman, and I say this incessantly in the articles I write, the videos that I do, and I talk about this, and it continued on. And also in the 80s, it took place too, because the creation of the
Yeah,
Bantustans, there were
yeah.
farms owned by white commercial farmers that were on land that was designated for Bantustans. And so farmers were removed, for instance, from Northwest Province so that Bophuthatswana could be created, and they were
Yes,
moved to KZN. And that's
yes.
where they wound up.
A lot of people will not know is between Brits and Tabazimbi lies what they call it was back then, it's called the Brits Tabazimbi corridor, because we are actually situated between two of the old Bophuthatswana states. And when we went to Rustenburg, or still today, the road that we take, the back road, is on the border, was built on the border of Bophuthatswana back then. And I've explained it to a few guys earlier. I said, and you could see where Bophuthatswana was back then, and where the commercial farming in South Africa went on. But yeah, so that's just an interesting fact, that we are actually in the middle of that corridor where I'm staying.
Well, let me do a little bit of housekeeping there really quickly,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Because we've got some super chats and people are signing up left and right. I'm guessing it's not from the stream, although I hope that lots of people are watching and signing up, but I think it's from the video that I released. So just had Wouter, Vion, and Basson de Villa, I think it was, who just became subscribers channel. Thank you so much for that if you're watching the stream. And there's Jan Hendrik Wieseman, who just became a subscriber. If you're watching it, fantastic. If they're not, they're just watching other videos, thank you just the same. Couple super chats real quick here, Herman. The first is from the Flying Boar, who says Trump needs to, I guess, do something about South Africa, including ANC and EFF, cut off foreign aid to South Africa. That won't have much of an impact, Flying Boar. I get your sentiments, but the amount of money that the U.S. gives to South Africa is a rounding error, even for the ANC. They steal more money than that on a daily basis than what the U.S. gives to the government of South Africa. But that money goes to HIV and antiretrovirals and things like that. And then the Flying Boar gave another one in which he said that Sia Khaleesi is running around about Black Lives Matter. Yet a black lady was killed by blacks. What does he have to say about that? Not a whole lot. I did a video earlier, which I mentioned at the top of this stream, Flying Boar, and I called it, "There Are No Farm Murders in South Africa." Now, that's not an original line. I expropriated that from President Cyril Ramaphosa, because that's what he told Bloomberg. Yeah, I expropriated that. Yeah, so I used his own words and to hoist them on a petard and talking about farm murders and rural violence in South Africa. And so that's on the channel, and you can check that one out if you like. Let me get a couple more things here really quickly. Erica is saying, yeah, quite a few farms are expropriated from white farmers during apartheid, dam building, new mines, and the creation of the Bantustans, or the home. Well, she says homelands.
Homelands. It was homelands. Yeah. Later changed to the homelands. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the original term they went with it.
Yeah.
But that's the term that triggers people, so I thought I'd play with that term.
Yeah.
But Lezan said that her mother's family also worked for the same farming family for almost 4 generations. Yep, absolutely true. Yeah, and then Rudy van der Riep said along Kruger West border expropriation 70s as well. Yep, absolutely. True stories. Yeah, so your family had a farm expropriated so they could build a dam back in the 70s. You moved to a new location, built a farm, and you now had people who've been working for your family for a few generations, and you know these folks. I mean, it's not like hired hands where you just show up and hire a few people for the day laborers. They come work on your farm. These are people that your family has a relationship with. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, and Chris, they all have living quarters on the farm. My dad, when he bought this farm, built proper brick houses for them. That's one thing that a lot of people don't know out there, is that we provide accommodation for our workers on the farms, right? That is part and parcel of who we are. All right. We never show them the door and tell them, go take a taxi and come to the farm, because that's just unreasonable to do that. But to get back to, I see that one day, the comment, I just want to get back to it. Lizanne L said that have one of my other mother's family also worked for 4 generations. Back in the late 1800s up until late 60s, it wasn't strange to have what we call in Afrikaans a bywoner. those were mostly your poor Afrikaans families living with on people's farms, and a lot of time working for them, as laborers on the farm. Die bijwoners. I don't know if a lot of people will know that term. And these people they had no other way to come, had no other way to or where to go. So they actually became part of the family eventually. Most of them, the children would marry with each other. So out of the bijwoners idea, and our great grandparents never had their workers stay in the rural areas and have to force them to. That was an idea in South Africa, that your workers will always stay with you on the farm. For one reason, it is also not just protection for you and for them, a safe haven, but it gives you a more of a familiarity with your people, and you become part and parcel of what you do. A farm is not a business. A farm is a way of living. Now, a lot of people don't understand that. My job is, when I walk step outside of my door, I'm inside my office. My office involves people's health, people's psychological. If my workers are not happy, it affects me. So I need to understand PR. I need to understand human relations. I need to understand how to be a doctor, because they come to me with their problems. I need to decide, what am I going to do? How am I going to help them? And what bothers me, Chris, and this is to get back to actually the thing about the tobacco. If we lose, say, of the potential 300,000 people that's employed in the value chain of tobacco, if we lose 150,000 people, right? Mm-hmm. Currently in South Africa today, there's 165,000 active cases. All right. We are now willing to have 150,000 people lose or 300,000 people lose their jobs. So let's say half of that, But let's get back to the bottom where it touches me. We have about 8,000 farm workers approximately, on the working on the farms. If we remove 4,000 to 5,000 of those people, that means 4,000 to 5,000 families will not have an income. And the guys must try and understand that. This is not just in the tobacco industry. This is the wine industry that's directly affected. And as we start collapsing, the domino effect is falling. What will happen eventually is these guys will be sitting in their, look, all of them still have their homes in the rural areas, all right, where their family had what we call a stand. They call it a stand. And these guys will sit there, and eventually they will run out of money. The government cannot continue to pay 3 to 4, 5, 6 million people a SASSA grant forever. Our government doesn't have that money. So eventually this guy will run out of money. He will run out of hope to find a new job. And let's be fair, guys. If you are hungry and you look at your children going hungry, Chris, and you know where you can find something to take, to feed yourself, you are going to that guy's going to come back to this farm and he's going to steal. And it has been proven over many decades where poverty hits, crime skyrockets. We all know that. In your poor areas, you have more crime than in your wealthier areas. And this is what people don't understand. We are already in the agricultural sector under huge pressure from crime. I'm not talking farm attacks alone here. We are flying the banner for farm attacks, but we should fly a banner for all the electricity cables that's stolen on a daily basis. The amount of stock theft that happens on it. Yes.
Oh, sorry. Stock theft, fencing that's being stolen, crops being destroyed needlessly.
Correct. So all of this will need to fall under this banner. And the problem that we're going to have is if the projected shrinking of the economy by the economists are between 8 to 12 and some say 14%, that means South Africans will be overall between 8 to 12% less wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to cause a contraction on the industry, on any industry in South Africa. And if a 12% contraction happens now in our agricultural sector, I don't even want to think of the amount of people that's going to be directly affected by this. Once again, it will happen on a value chain effect.
Well, we've seen this movie before, Herman, and I've been warning about it for ages now. I've not been a person running around saying the sky is falling, that South Africa is going to go the path of Zimbabwe. But we've seen this path in Zimbabwe, where agriculture was only 16% of the economy. That was the argument. It's only 16% of the economy. But farmers buy tractors and carburetors and tires and petrol and cushions and seats and seeds and fertilizer. All of that comes from a wider ecosphere of economic activity. So a couple more housekeeping things. Anton,
gives my throat a bit of chance to rest.
Give you a break there. But Anton Concia, thank you so much for becoming a subscriber to the channel. And when you say the term Bewohners, I look at that, and this is one of those instances, once again, where between English and German, I can figure out what the word meant. Because I would say in German, I would say Bewohner, as in wohnen, as in to live, and by is next to or adjacent to. So living next to, that would be the next two livers. And I think that's what it means in Afrikaans, yes?
Yeah.
So there you go. So that's what I like about Afrikaans, is that if I can't figure it out in English, I can figure it out in German most of the time. Although there's occasional crazy thing that I can't quite figure out. But a little bit more housekeeping here. Dogbreaker said that my great-grandfather was a Bewohner. After the family survived the Anglo-Boer War, everything was burnt down. They had nothing except for the shirt in their back, and he was a shepherd, and they still speak to that family. Yeah, awesome. And then, not awesome that happened, but awesome that people are still in touch. Ross R. says, some farmers have tried to have white Bewohners, but with limited success. They come to farms without realizing it's a 24/7 commitment and there are no holidays. Folks, there's a reason why Chris Wyatt is no longer a farmer. I was a farmer in high school. I was a dairy farmer. And if you think farming sucks, try dairy farming. There's no holiday. Erica can confirm this. There are no holidays. You don't go anywhere. You don't take vacations. You're there 365 days a year, and you're milking cows twice a day. For me, it was 5:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning and 5:30 every night, every single day. Doesn't matter what the weather is. When it's freezing, it's well below zero, you're still out there doing it. And milking the cows is just a tiny fraction of all the labor that comes associated with it. So, well, listen, I don't mean to speak ill of farming, because it's a noble profession. It's critically important to humankind that we have this, and that we have reliable farmers who are productive. And for me, Herman, I think you could probably attest to this. For me, from a personal standpoint, I learned the value of hard work. I learned the ability to make tough decisions, to stand on my own, to be independent, be responsible for things that cost a lot or worth a lot. That's a lot of responsibility to put on a 13-year-old kid. And I was 13, 14 years old when this responsibility was hoisted on me. And I grew up pretty quickly. And I have no regrets about being a dairy farmer, but I'm not milking cows at 5 o'clock in the morning these days. So anyway.
Look, Chris, there's various arenas of farming. And I think God just made us, each farmer for his specific duty. Some people just love dairy farming, and I cannot stand it. Some people will look at me and say, yes, why are you farming tobacco? It's a stressful job. You up at night fixing your barns. You're doing this, you're doing that. You have to worry about this. I love it, and I think that's how we were created. And I think but yes, Chris, farming forces you to grow up fast, but also in a safe environment where children can still be children. You can still play. You can still be a child without worrying. I look at this new generation of youngsters sitting in the city, not to diss them, but if I see what they've become, they lack the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
They lack the creativity. And I blame their parents for that. You know what? There isn't a South African living in a city who doesn't know somebody who owns a farm. what I don't understand is why don't they send their kids? And you know what? Years earlier, and I'm talking 20 years ago, and I think it was probably the same with you guys in back then. The city guys or town folk will send their children to the farms for holiday seasons. Your friends would come and stay with you on the farm who comes from town. So, but we lost that. We lost that tradition of town folk coming up. And you know what, Chris? A lot of town folk who came out as kids to the farms actually became farmers.
Yeah.
Who became amazing farmers throughout. So people have this idea, if I grow up in town today, I must be a snowflake. No. Come out to the farm. Let's put you in the fire. Let's take that hammer and let's get that wrought iron out of you and let's make you into a bit of a piece of steel. Yes, it's hard work, but it just farming for me, and it's a personal, as I said, it's a way of living. Yes, I get tired. At this stage, I'm physically, I'm psychologically tired. I'm battered. But there's one thing that keeps me going. Every morning I wake up, I have my chickens, they start cackling in the morning, and I can hear the cattle. And that's what keeps me going. My family keeps me going. And that's what people must understand. Farming is a family affair. It is a community affair.
No, absolutely.
Sorry.
No, it's fine, Herman. So, folks, you're listening to Chris Wyatt Africa on the Indaba Africa channel here on YouTube. My special feature guest today is Herman Roos, who is a tobacco farmer in Northwest Province in South Africa. We're talking about farming in general, but specifically about some events that occurred on his farm overnight, which is one reason why the gentleman's so tired. He was up late dealing with people trying to, I guess, poach would be the right term, his bull, his prize bull. But you're listening to Chris Wyatt Africa. Thank you so much. I need to get this super chat in, which came from a bit ago. The Flying Boar did it. Another one. By the way, folks, you don't have to feel shy. The Flying Boar doesn't have to. You don't have to leave them all alone there. If you want to super chat and hoy a little towards the show, you're welcome to do that. But the Flying Boar said that Trump tweeted about South Africa's farm expropriation. Everyone went crazy in the U.S. Yeah, the media went crazy, not Americans. Americans didn't fall for the hype that the media was passing. I read a Harper's article from that time frame. I just went back, was reading, was doing some research earlier, and I'm just reading this, and it's just vile how they dismiss what was happening on farms because it happened to white people, ignoring that it was happening to all South Africans on farms, but just to dismiss it so people would ignore it. It's really kind of sad that sort of thing is going on, but that is what we're dealing with, and that's the world we're living in where that sort of stuff does happen. By the way, folks, on the channel, a short while ago, in my Streamlabs streaming software, which tells me how many viewers are currently on, it's usually a little behind the actual feed, but it told me I had 78 people watching this program right now, and on the channel I looked over and it said 61. Now, the channel is feeding the software on my computer, so something's backwards there, and you have to wonder if numbers are being suppressed here. But anyway, it says we're up to 82 viewers now. Thank you so much, folks, for tuning in. 82 viewers, that's awesome. Really glad to have all of you here, whether you're new to the channel or you've been around a long time. Let me ask you for a couple things. Can I get you to smash the like button right down there? Herman is putting in yeoman's work here. You can hear him belaboring there. He's struggling to get through the day and evening. So if you could give us a few likes, thanks. We just got 2 more likes on the video. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, Rudy says 80 viewers. That's what I've got right now. I said 82 a moment ago. Anyway, Herman, let's get back to the conversation. So yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say something, Chris. A lot of people don't understand is South African farmers, and that's why I'm getting peeved with what the world view is on South African farmers. We have Indian families that's also farming in South Africa. We have black farmers in South Africa and brilliant farmers. Natal, the other day, there was a farm attack and it was an Indian lady that was killed. So South Africa doesn't have just white farmers, and the people must get that idea out of their heads. We have from every different race. We have Portuguese. We have Greek, we have Jew, we have Afrikaans-speaking people, we have Germans, we have Dutch farmers here, we have Indian farmers, we have Zulu farmers, we have Xhosa farmers. So yes, South Africa is a multi-diverse agricultural sector. Unfortunately, there's a bad idea, there's a stigma connected to us. And the same stigma that's connected to the tobacco industry. Yes, we are going to kill the world. Hang on, and this is where I want to put my foot down tonight. During this ban on cigarettes and alcohol, one of the most contributing factors to diabetes, those products weren't taken off the shelves. Why wasn't refined sugar taken off the shelves? Refined sugar is one of the biggest contributing factors to people who already have diabetes for them dying. So underlying,
absolutely, it's nonsensical. They're making an argument, and if the argument's not valid because it's not like it's being applied across the board. They're being selective.
That's a selective argument. And what will happen? Who is going to look after generations of farm workers that will have to lose their jobs on the wine farms and the tobacco farms, on the flour industry that's already been impacted? You know, Chris, you look at South Africa, and actually we are a wonderful country. We have so many great people living together, working together from all cultural aspects, from all over the world. I think since 1652, yes, there has been problems, different views, different religious views. But if we can put all of our nonsense behind us, and we can stand together in this country and tell everybody and say, listen here, let's go for the common good. Let's get this thing done. Let's fix this country. You know what, Chris, we will be able to do it.
Well, I'd have to say, sorry, go ahead. I thought you were pausing. Go
ahead. Sorry, I was just, what lies ahead for us, and I do not know much about the wine industry, so I can just mention the wine industry. But what lies ahead for us in the tobacco industry, if we continue down this road, the cartels are going to take over the illicit trade in South Africa. We will get to a point where our industry will be controlled by criminal elements and not by legal trade. Now, there's a lot of people in South Africa today shouting and kicking and screaming against the corporate world. But I've spoken to a guy, and he said they must now contend with two things. They have a government that's against them, and they have an illegal mafia cartel criminal trade against them as well. And by kicking against both of them, it's two dogs fighting over a bone, and the third will run away with it. Now they have to choose who their enemy is, who they're going to fight first. And that is where we are now. Who do we fight first? Is it government? Yes. The cartels will have to wait. But if the government is going to postpone this court case, if they are going to drag this court case out until the 1st of January when they want to lift the ban, which I do not believe this government. I do not believe them saying that they will lift the lockdown at 1st of January. If they're going to draw this thing out, if they're going to continue to draw the court case out, eventually, I'm afraid that we will get into such a dire position in the tobacco and industry that we will be forced either to join them or to completely stop farming. The illicit trade at this stage has taken complete control of the market. And the biggest problem is if they do that, they will get to a point where they can actually inform your farm workers. Now, this sounds far-fetched, and don't think it's not. It is. If we continue to fight against the illicit trade, and by the time with the money they have, they can start putting pressure on your farm workers to start sabotaging you. They can literally go and buy farmers to turn against the legal trade. If they know I'm in trouble financially, and that for them is easy. If you have got money, they can get your bank statements. They can get your financial records. This is South Africa. All right. If they know you're in financial trouble and they want to change and get a specific or get a specific thing, what's the word? Sorry, forgive me. Let's say they wanted to have a specific thing happening. They can buy farmers. They can buy us off. They can literally walk into police stations and tell the big boss, you work with us or you don't.
Yeah, no, we've seen this movie before, Herman. I mean, it was called
Mm.
Prohibition in the 1930s in the United States. We
Yeah.
had Prohibition.
And
We saw this before, and we saw the growth of the mafia and the gangsters that didn't exist by and large before that. It all came out of that. The person you're talking about earlier, where you were talking about all these different folks who farm in South Africa, is you were talking about a 26-year-old Indian South African who was
yes.
murdered on Ayub's farm in Veenen, in
Yes.
KwaZulu-Natal. Her name was
Yes.
Zakia Ahmeden Ismail. She's 26 years
Yes.
old, 4 months pregnant with two children, one age 4 and one age
Yes.
8. She was drugged into the bathroom where they sliced her throat open and let her die and bleed
Yes.
out. 4 months pregnant. The brutality, the callousness is just off the charts. Now, one thing I would correct, you were saying there, Herman, you said that, yes, we can say that there have been problems since 1652. I would say that you need to back that date up by about 500 or 800 years to the arrival of the Bantus from the Great Rift Valley coming down and displacing the Khoi and San residents of South Africa. So there's been conflict there for a long time. It's not just since the arrival of Europeans and
Yeah.
in the Western Cape. It's been a much longer. And there's another super chat from Flying Boar, which I'm way behind on, so let me do that very quickly. So Flying Boar says, is your guest familiar with AfriForum? They are the one that's fighting against land expropriation. Yes, Herman is aware of AfriForum, but you have any comments about AfriForum, Herman?
Chris, I stand firmly behind AfriForum, and for one reason is that I'm a part of the Southern Africa Agri Initiative, SAI, and one of the few, or actually the only agricultural initiative that went with us to fight this battle of the tobacco ban in court. For what Ian Cameron did for us on the farm murder side, I was in a few times in contact and I spoke to him on the telephone. What Ernst Roos, Scully Creel, and these guys are doing for us is amazing. If we do not have an organization like AfriForum, organizations like SAI, Solidarity, and I do not think that we will be where we are today. These guys are barriers sometimes between the farmers and the government. Unfortunately, in South Africa, a lot of the organizations that was supposed to be pro-agri has turned their backs on the South African farmers. They have run with certain corporate companies. They are running with the government, and I believe that this year and this time will start revealing who the true people are that are here to support the South African farmers, the agricultural sector, who are still there, who will keep true to what their mandates are, instead of following to be lapdogs and bootlicking up to the ANC government. But there's still time. This whole coronavirus thing, Chris, I see it as a time to reveal the evils that has been created about around the certain organizations. You know, the easiest thing to do is to set up an organization. To get members is in South Africa today, if you play the right fiddle tune, you can get a lot of members, and especially farmers, because we are vulnerable, all right? Because we feel left out. So if you put out a nice speech, if you put out a few things, people will follow you. But the problem is we don't see the action. I was actually listening to people saying that our hands are cut off in the tobacco industry. Our hands are not cut off, guys, and this is where I'm coming in. I'm asking every person in South Africa, even if you are in the United States, wherever you are in the world, please go make a personal video in support of Lift the Ban. Put your words out there and share it on Instagram, share it on TikTok, share it on Facebook. If we can get 10,000 South Africans and people from around the world to each post a personal video and share those videos, the government cannot ignore it anymore. If we continue to say to ourselves, our hands are cut off, that is the easiest thing to do. And that is the problem I see in South Africa. There's an older generation in South Africa, and I'm saying the 50 plus generation, that has an attitude in South Africa of we are not enough people. They still have, sorry to say it, the border war mentality. They think fixing a problem is with an R1 FAL with a 308 caliber round. They think that's how you fix a problem.
Well,
no,
that does fix some problems.
But it creates more problems.
That's true.
The major problem is, but we have a dynamic young generation of farmers in South Africa that are not scared to stand up. But I'm sorry, Chris, and I'm saying this out there. I've seen it in the agricultural sector, that young farmers who voice their opinion, not just, I'm talking agriculture in South Africa broadly, all right? Mm-hmm. I've seen youngsters who start voicing their opinions, who start standing up for themselves and saying, listen here, we are not following your Broederbond ideas. And I'm saying it straight tonight because I'm fed up to hear how powerless we are. You know what? We are not. We are a young generation. I have children. We have children. We want them to grow up. I have actually just one son. Sorry. I'm getting it. We want our children to grow up in this country. We still want to continue farming. So stop telling yourselves and stop telling each other that we have no voice. Today in Volhardts, we saw what it can be done. When those farmers rocked up there, it wasn't just the farmers, it was their workers with them. A whole community stood up. But you know what, Chris? The fear of the elder generation with their Angola border war mentality, because they cannot fix it with a gun anymore. They are oppressing us youngsters who actually have more guts to stand up and face this government. We don't go and say, oh, my hands are cut off. We ask and we look and say, oh, yes, our hands are cut off. What else can I use to continue with the fight? My elbows? You cut those off. I fight with whatever grain of personal power I have, with the confidence of a lion. I've seen youngsters' spirits being broken the past few years. Guys who were out there, young farmers who were actually standing for something, and they were broken by an elder generation, Chris. And I'm sorry, the guys can cut my head off for this. I don't care. It's time that people hear this. We need the young generation's voice now more than ever in every facet, from industries right down to agriculture. But we've got a problem. We've got an attitude problem in South Africa, and especially in the Afrikaans communities, where the elders are the only ones that is allowed to talk. They've got the victim mentality. We are the victim. Oh, I cannot fix this because I cannot do something against this big government. You know what? 100 men went up in the Bible, went up against one of the biggest armies, and that army ran away. 300 men stood at a gate,
Thermopylae,
and faced an onslaught, and they stopped it. So, yes, and what happened in Volhardts today, I was so proud to see that black, white, colored could stand together under the banner of saying, stop murders. All lives matter. But the easiest way is to have a Broederbond mentality, to think you can negotiate with a communist government. We cannot. That time is past. But as long as we keep our young generation under the thumb, what these people are not realizing is we are creating a generation that will break out. They will break ranks. And when we start breaking ranks, the destruction that's going to come with that breaking of the ranks will be more devastating than the current ban on alcohol and tobacco and what's happening in the agricultural sector. We have this thing that if you are not a farmer that is big, it's only the mega farmers that is allowed to talk, the rich that is allowed to talk. I have seen young farmers that's coming from poor families that has leadership skills, Chris, way better than those people who are sitting in certain on certain agricultural boards and everything. But those youngsters and those guys are oppressed because they see them as a threat to their existence. And we have an attitude in South Africa these days, within our farming communities, within our business communities, that if somebody becomes a threat to your position, you eliminate them.
Well, that's
Okay,
not
sorry.
that's
I've
no,
had.
it's not unique to South Africa, Herman. I mean, I experienced the same thing as a farmer, a small scale dairy farm with 17 hectares and Jerseys, the Guernseys, and Holsteins. We sold milk for $1, $1.25 a gallon, and they sold at the supermarkets from the industrial dairy farms for $3.75, $4 a gallon. And they were subsidized. We didn't get subsidies. And you see it across the spectrum in South Africa. All the big holding companies that control all of the retail brands don't want people to know that Foschini and Edgar's and all these other things are only owned by a handful of companies. It's not like you have a diverse spectrum there. And they have these informal arrangements with the national government, the ANC, so that they can get along and go along, which crushes entrepreneurialism. It crushes a pioneering spirit, and it undermines economic growth. It's one of the reasons why the country is stagnated. That's an unofficial macroeconomic policy that's crippled South Africa. But it goes beyond the farming sector, Herman. I mean, you're talking about farming, but for those of you who don't like tobacco, I don't smoke. I can't stand cigarettes. I find them deeply offensive, but I don't intrude in people's right to smoke. As long as they're not intruding in my space, I don't have an issue with it. So I'm deeply offended by this tobacco ban as well. But it goes beyond that. People might go, okay, fine, it's tobacco farmers. What do I care? 10,000 people work there. But as we talked about, that's an ecosystem that reaches 300,000 people. And South Africa can't afford to have 300,000 people penniless and out of work and bankrupt. Not to mention the long-term damage it does for farms that lay fallow and what happens after that. But it goes far beyond that to every industry. So the wine industry was neglected. I did videos in the wine industry and nobody seemed to care about it. Now suddenly people are talking about it's about time, but so much damage has been done already to the wine industry. It's devastating. This is one of the problems. The state owns all the power generation by and large in South Africa through Eskom. It controls transportation networks through Transnet. It controls much of the aviation market through South African Airways and its subsidiary Mango, both of which are bankrupt, of course. And it has Groot Constantina, which is the big winery in the Western Cape. That's a state-owned enterprise. The list of state-owned enterprises is massive, and people don't even realize it. And what they're doing now is driving independent, private business out of business, and that's a disaster. Now, we had a super chat from Yanni van der Walt. Yanni said that he has made a video and shared it on Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. And he supports you. Okay, Yanni, why did you put it on Parler, man? Put it on Parler. You're on Parler.
Chris, guys, I'm going to ask to cut off here. I've still have one or two things that I need to do before I'm really going off to bed early tonight. Guys, Chris, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Although we didn't talk much about tobacco, we talked about various aspects, and it was always lovely to talk to you, be it from traveling on my channel to your channel, talking about agriculture and the things that really hits home for all of us. I'm once again asking all the viewers out there, please, each one of you, stand behind the tobacco industry. Please go make a personal video like Yanni did. Post it onto all the social media platforms that you have with hashtag LiftTheBanSA, and also tag, if you're on Twitter, at liftthebansa.org is the company or the page that's running it. And guys, you can tag me at Herman J. Roos if you want to on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook and I'm not on other platforms. But please, guys, we need your help now more than ever. If we can get 10,000 South Africans and people from all over the world, be it from Germany, United States, from Asia, each putting their voice behind us. At a point, government cannot ignore us. This will become like a taxi strike. But at this stage, our tobacco industry is like that stupid guy. We are driving alone on the road and people are throwing stones at us. And the biggest stone that's in our path to get past this riot is the government. If all of you can come with us, you will be the shield protecting us and getting us through this time and walking out safe on the other side. But I still thank you for everybody who has shared our videos, who have heard our plights. Chris, you especially, who went and made a video, and I'm still emotional every time when I watch that video. I still get emotional when I think of it. And thank you, Chris, for being on board with us. And I appreciate it immensely. And all my fellow tobacco farmers said that I must tell you that they appreciate it.
Well, Herman, that was what I was going to ask you before you took off, is your reactions to the video that I posted, if you could share it, but you just did. So thank you so much for that. I just put the link in there again, folks, if you want to check it out. So, Herman, thanks a lot. Early days when you were first coming on, I think, I don't know if, I think you might have been on Ronaldo before you came on here, but if this wasn't the first program you were on, it was one of the early programs, John. So you were an early guest for us. So thank you so much for coming back. And yeah, we didn't really talk an update, but I think the issues we talked about are really important for people to have a perspective on it, so they know what's going on.
Yeah.
All right, Herman, thank you so much.
Yes, Chris, thank you.
I'll get you to leave the, you look like you're tired there. Let's get a break.
Yeah, sorry, guys. I'm saying goodbye, everybody. Good night. Keep well. And yeah, when the lockdown is lifted, we'll see each other on the long road. Cheers,
All right, go ahead and drop off the meeting. Okay, folks.
Yeah, bye-bye.
That was Herman Roos, a tobacco farmer from Northwest Province, who joined us. Thank you so much for joining us again. Once again, Herman, he back here in May, was on the channel, and he's back again today. So, folks, that was, I think, a very interesting discussion. I hope you found it informative and useful. But I did have a super chat here again from the Flying Boar, and says, South Africa today is because China has control of the economy. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable statement there. The Chinese definitely have their fingers deep in the pie in South Africa. Listen, we got about 90 people still watching here. If anybody hasn't liked this video, can I ask you to take a second and reach down there? It's not very far. Right there. Just push that button and push the like. Come on. Can we get a few more likes there, folks? Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Herman, thanks for coming on and being my guest. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back on for the Stray Voltage Night Owl Edition at 9:35 in Botswana and South Africa, or 3:35 here on the East Coast of the United States. Back to the normal time today, since we did have an earlier stream with this special feature. And tomorrow, don't forget, on Chris Wyatt Africa, Jeremy Nell, Germ Warfare, will be on the channel tomorrow, and we'll be talking all things South Africa, and hopefully you'll find that interesting. And on Saturday, we have Confirmation. I'll be posting the link shortly. But on the channel, we have Gideon, or Gideon, as you guys say in Afrikaans, who is known as Paratus, a gun rights advocate in South Africa. And he will be my guest on Saturday. So that's the upcoming stuff on the channel. Also, if you've missed it, be sure to go back and catch my There Are No Farm Murders in South Africa. My latest video, which is apparently, it looks like it was trending pretty well while we were here on the channel. And thank you to all the folks who have signed up as subscribers and those who become members on the channel. But let me take a look really quick here and see what the stats are on that video, because it was doing very well. I want to thank everybody for that. We are over 6,000 subscribers on the channel as of this morning. Thank you all so much for that. Yeah, there are no farm murders in South Africa. I published that a little over 2 hours ago, and it now has 3,539 views. Thank you all so much for that, ladies and gentlemen. 1,665 views in the last hour. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for that. Also, thank you guys so much for the Sia Khaleesi video, which is still, it's doing quite well. It's picked back up again for today. It's now at 43,000 views on that. Thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate the patronage here on the channel, Chris Wyatt Africa. Folks, it's not just the tobacco sector. It's the entire farming sector. It's the retail sector. It's the services sector. It'll be the IT sector. This is out of control. State controlling the economy is not the answer. It's been proven time and again that it does not work, and it's unsatisfactory. So let's not let the African National Congress continue down this path. Make your voice be heard. Get out there and be heard. Folks, thanks a lot for the super chats and for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and close it off now at 1 hour. And if you missed it this morning, you can go back and watch one more stream. We had the launch this morning from NASA, Cape Canaveral, Florida, in which they launched on an Atlas V rocket to Mars, the Mars 2020 mission with the Perseverance rover. And Perseverance is going along on this mission with his little buddy, the Ingenuity helicopter. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, NASA is sending a helicopter to Mars, where the atmosphere is just 1% of what our atmosphere is here. So that should be very fascinating to see what happens with that. Thank you so much for everything, the super chats, Flying Boar, everybody who became subscribers. Thank you so much. We're going to close right here, and I'll be back in 2.5 hours and hope to see many of you, if not all of you and more, in 2.5 hours. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. God bless, and we'll catch you then on the channel. So I'm going to go ahead and close out here real quick. Where's my closing video? There it is.